The story of Beowulf is a good source for religious study students because it provides an understanding as to what some of the beliefs and values were during the time in which it was written. Beowulf was written in around 597, and it was written by a former pagan who had converted to Christianity. And during this time, Pope Gregory had sent missionaries to different parts of Europe to convert people to Christianity. And during this time, literacy was mainly just a Christian thing. Many scholars were Christian. And the story of Beowulf actually provides a really good understanding as to the beliefs during this time, as Beowulf was written in two different parts. And in part one, the story basically is that Beowulf goes into Denmark because this monstrous kind of creature, Grendel, was terrorizing the Danes, and he was eating and killing about like 15 of them a day in some meat hall. And Beowulf had the strength of, they said, 30 men, right? So this hero came in and had to fight him off and ripped off his arm and essentially defeated Grendel. To which then Grendel's mother came in, and Beowulf had to fight her. It was a much harder battle, but he fought her as well and emerged heroic, and he won that as well. And the whole basis of the first part of Beowulf is that he was able to do this through the grace of God and his faith, and God was protecting him during this time. And he was seemingly heroic through the grace of God. However, in the second part of the story, Beowulf becomes the king and emperor, and a dragon comes to his emperor or his empire, and starts to terrorize everyone. And in the story, Beowulf's entire army leaves him, basically leaves him to be. And the question becomes, well, why did they do that? Beowulf was so loyal in the first part of the story, and he would give the gifts that he received to the king and to the emperor. And now that he's king, no one's loyal to him. And in the second part of the story, the faith it isn't as big of a part in the story. And so essentially, Beowulf provides a good understanding and a good basis for the Anglo-Saxon pagans to convert to Christianity, because one of the stories that was described in the lecture was that this crow was coming and everything was all good, and then he left and everything kind of went bad. And Christianity provided a good kind of belief system in which it made sense to people. And essentially, the central theme of Anglo-Saxon writers was pessimism. And a lot of it can be seen in Beowulf, as, Beowulf comes in, saves the day, and then comes emperor and dies. And so in the plot line, he saves the day, and then Grendel's mother comes, and then he defeats her, becomes emperor, and then he dies. So the central theme of pessimism is something that the Anglo-Saxons, especially the writers, like describe, and it creates a good segue into Christianity. And yeah, I think that Beowulf is a really good story for religious studies students to understand, especially because a lot of the themes and the concepts really give a good understanding as to the beliefs and the difference between paganism and Christianity, and how a lot of Anglo-Saxon pagans converted to Christianity through a story like Beowulf.